and welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about foam rolling the core. Now, first to just briefly say what I mean by the core, and then a little bit about what I mean about foam rolling, which is also referred to as self-myofascial release. We'll get to that in a moment. The core muscles we're going to be addressing today are the abdominal muscles, the rectus abdominis, the transverse abdominis, and the oblique muscles as well, the side core, the side abdominal muscles. The low back muscles as well comprise the core. We're going to hit a deep abdominal muscle called the psoas muscle. It's actually the hip flexor, and it starts from the front of the lumbar spine, travels down to the abdomen, and then through the pelvis and attaches to the hip bone and allows for hip flexion. That's the hip flexor. It's called the psoas muscle, sometimes known as the iliopsoas muscle. As I said, the low back muscles. We're going to hit upon the inner thigh muscles. And we're also going to hit upon the glute muscles and a smaller muscle deep to the glutes called the piriformis muscle. These are core muscles. They help to coordinate the lower and upper extremities and should be worked regularly 2 to 3 times a week at the very least. This is a foam roller. There's a massage ball on the floor. Those are the 2 tools we'll be using today. Okay. Foam rolling, also known as SMR or self-myofascial release. The reason for that is that we're hitting upon the myofascia, focusing on that material much more than even on the muscles. It's the myofascia. So we have SMR, self-myofascial release. Okay, we're going to start with the low back, work down to the glutes, and then do the inner thighs and the abs and the psoas muscle. So for the low back, you'll just lay down on a mat, face up, bring the roller to your back, lean back on it, and you can use your arms. In foam rolling, you can use your arms and feet to adjust the amount of pressure that the body places upon the foam roller, therefore increasing or decreasing the amount of pressure from the foam roller into the body tissue. Here I have my forearms on the floor, my feet are on the floor, I'm supporting my body weight pretty nicely, but allowing for the foam roller to have an impact. And I roll from the lower tips of my shoulder blades all the way down to the crest of my ilium or the top of the hip bone, the top of the pelvis, and back again. Okay? How long do you roll? I'd say each body area could be 1 to 3 minutes. The key though, the real important thing is to find the trigger point. So as you're rolling along, you're going to find a tender point perhaps. That we call a trigger point. When you find a trigger point, you'll want to stop there and do one of 3 things. And you can do all 3, but only one at a time. One is to just hold your pressure on that trigger point until the trigger point starts to diminish, the intensity starts to diminish. That usually takes 20 to 40 seconds. You can also undulate a little bit up and down on that trigger point, or scrub back and forth sort of like a windshield wiper in that way until the intensity diminishes, okay? Moving along, we're going to go down to the piriformis and glute muscles. Those are large muscles on the back of the hip, and the way to do that, I'm going to start on the right side. So I will plant my left foot onto the mat. The right leg comes up like this, so the outer side of my right ankle is resting just above my left knee, and from the top of the ilium, the crest, down to the sit bones. Okay, and since that's a broad muscle, you can also lean into it and away from it, so that you get the entire muscle from the middle to the outer edge of that muscle. And again, you're more than likely going to find some trigger points in here, particularly in that piriformis muscle. So I'll just stop there and undulate. I'll stop and just apply a little bit of pressure for a sustained period of time, and then I'll scrub a little bit back and forth like a windshield wiper, okay? And then switching sides, so you can see it from this side. I'm on my left gluteus and piriformis complex now, and rolling, okay? Next, I'll turn around to do the abdominal. A lot of times people wonder, can you actually roll your abs? Well, yes you can, and you can do it quite safely. Simply coming down, facing down, on top of the roller. Start low, just above the pubic bone, okay? And then, almost opposite to rolling your low back, you go back and forth from the ribs to the pubic bone. That's how the abdominal muscles run. It's rare that you'll find trigger points in the abdominal muscles themselves. If you do, the same thing applies. Hold pressure, undulate, and so on. Okay? Good. Next muscle in this order will be the hip flexor muscle, which I'm going to be using this ball. You can also use a kettlebell for this, about the same size kettlebell, which would usually be about a 15-pound kettlebell. Works really nicely for this procedure as well. But I like this ball. This particular one is really good. It's a nice dense foam and it works really well. So I will just lie down, bring that ball to the crease of the hip in there, bend that knee, and essentially just lie down on it and allow gravity to do the work for you. Okay, you can move a little bit away from the groin as well. You'll more than likely feel some tenderness. The psoas muscle is oftentimes riddled with trigger points. That's why it's a good muscle to do. And as you find those trigger points, you just lay into them again and allow your body to melt over the ball until you find a release of the trigger point on that left psoas muscle, and then I turn to the right. I keep the side that I'm working, I keep that hip bent because then it exposes that muscle much better by doing that. And I lie on that like this. Okay. And lastly, the last muscles, the final muscles I would like to demonstrate are your inner thighs, the adductor muscles of the thighs. In order to do that, you'll take the foam roller and have it aimed about 45 degrees away from your head. That'll allow it to be perpendicular to the thigh that you're working, like this, okay? And here you're working in from your groin and out to just above the knee and back to the groin. And again, any trigger points, you'll just want to undulate like that. And then you'll switch sides, 45 degrees pointing away from the head, thigh perpendicular to the foam roller, and rolling from the knee up into the groin. Okay, that'll do it for foam rolling for the core. I appreciate your listening and being here with me, and I hope you learned a lot from this. Ciao for now.